white districts get. Regardless of their financial status, they are not under takeover.
That's right.
No matter how broke they are, they haven't been taken over. Only the black districts have been taken over. The reason we want to be able to restore our own authority is so that we can reopen our schools and call for an audit immediately. The reason they don't want to give us back authority and they want to give it to Skillman, they want to give it to all of the nonprofits, is because they won't have to have an audit.
That's right.
We want an audit first and foremost. No matter what happens, we need to know what happened to our money, and Snyder all the way down needs to go to jail.
One of the governor's strategies for keeping the public schools under emergency management for 5 years has been to prevent that audit, which is in fact a cover-up of the malfeasance and the corruption, the stealing of money from children and paying it to the banks, which has gone on in this 5 years.
We as taxpayer residents have an obligation and a duty to demand what's going on. You know, we cannot continue to have these contractors, all questionable contracts, no bid contracts, behind doors contracts. You know, the governor and the mayor are involved in a number of things that the previous black mayor, Kilpatrick, went to jail for. Exactly. You know, so if the governor and our mayor, the city of Detroit, Mike Duggan, are involved in doing things that Kilpatrick went to jail for, why is not no one looking at that?
Detroit public schools have been destroyed by the state. They took us over in 1999 when we had a $125 million surplus. 12 years later, emergency manager Robert Bob leaves behind a $325 million deficit, and the test scores are the worst in the country. At the time they took us over, our test scores were at the state midpoint and rising, but we passed a $1.5 billion bond, and Governor Engler, who was in charge at that time, was looking at that money with hungry eyes, and his cohorts came in and swooped in, and the money is now all gone.
Recent studies for months and months, our water has been contaminated with everything from E. coli bacteria, trihalomethanes, and then the recent reports came out about the lead. Darnell Early was the emergency manager when the city of Flint was taken off the Detroit water system, when the Detroit River became the water source, and that started a whole series of nightmares for the citizens in the city of Flint. So we say that there's no daylight between emergency management and the toxic water that we are being exposed to in the city of Flint. So we must come down here and lend our solidarity, because dictatorship ain't pretty.
Governor Snyder sanctioned state lies when his Department of Environmental Quality lied about the water in Flint. What does that have to do with education in Detroit? Everything. Because then Governor Snyder took one of his henchmen, Darnell Early, just fresh from poisoning the children of Flint, to let him head up the Detroit public school system under the guise of being a democracy-destroying emergency manager. How can you take a guy who just poisoned the children of Flint and then put him in charge of the education of Detroit public schools?
The EAA has been an absolute failure. Documents that we FOIA'd show that it is essentially a corrupt entity, and it is harming students. And I believe that the only way to sustainable change is through the return to power of the elected school board to manage these school districts and to allow the school districts of the city of Detroit to thrive.
We hope Governor Snyder stops right now and stops trying to help us, because what he's done is send our children into a situation where they will never be able to function correctly in the world. The EAA has failed our children, and he knows it, but he will not give up control, because he has made promises to his friends And he has people around him that are saying, we can't let those black children and those brown children succeed.
Snyder's plan and everybody else's plan, if it doesn't include an elected school board, is worthless.
Detroiters need their city back. They need the schools back. Governor Snyder, you owe more reparations than have ever been owed. We are not going to let that happen. We are standing here. We're a barrier between him and what he wants to do to our children, and we will never go away.
Never.
We've got to restore democracy to education.
Yes.
We've got to regain the ability to educate our kids.
Yeah.
The state for the last 14 or 16 years has given us nothing. Nothing. Regain our rights. Restore our rights.